There exists a threat, from anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman Podcast. What is this, like episode 9? Episode 9. We're on episode 9, guys. That's pretty badass. Thanks for joining me. This is Jim Huntsman, Western Huntsman Podcast, coming at you from the Broken Tine studio in Hayden, Idaho. So we are cruising right along. I got some killer episodes coming up, too. You're not going to want to miss next week, by the way. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but it's going to be a big deal. And also, that's going to be dependent. I'm waiting for the guy's secretary to kind of confirm it, but it's pretty much all but confirmed. So next week's going to be a killer episode, and just like this week is my favorite episode because we are going to finish up that super popular interview that I did with Troy Pottenger and Jess Pottenger and Ty Pottenger. These guys came into the studio. Gosh, it was almost 2 weeks ago. And I had to split the episodes in half because we went so long, because there's so much to cover, talking about mountain whitetails and bass fishing and all sorts of stuff. So looking forward to getting that one kicked off. I wanted to make a couple of announcements before we get into the interview here. First of all, we finally, after a lot of heartache and ass ache on my end, I figured out how to create the store thing on my website. You guys, if you've listened to this in the past, you guys already know I'm not super technical. I don't know the technology end of all this that I'm trying to do here, but it did after a lot of ass ache. I figured out the store. So I've got a couple of t-shirts for sale. If you guys want to support the podcast, you're going to look super sexy in them, I promise. They're awesome shirts. They're not the wolf ones yet. We're still working on the design for the wolf t-shirts. We're pretty much done taking entries on those. We got a bunch, and I've narrowed it down to like 3, and we're gonna select 1 or 2 of them. I'm not totally sure how we're gonna play that one out yet, but those are gonna help fund the Foundation for Wildlife Management. So I want to announce or talk about this coming spring is going to be like my first real dedicated turkey hunt. I've turkey hunted in the past with very little success, and just kind of dabbled in it here and there. But this spring I'm gonna get into it. And the reason why I haven't really gotten into it in the past is I haven't gotten super excited about turkeys, especially in the spring, because I'm always like kind of shaking off the winter and getting out there and doing fly fishing. And fly fishing's always, a lot of people, they watch basketball in March because it's March Madness. Yeah, I call March Madness that's what it is for me on the river. And it's an awesome time to get out and throw a fly around and nail some trout. But this year it's going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to let fly fishing derail me. I've been watching. Somebody told me to watch these turkey hunting videos on the YouTube channel for the hunting public, and I'm glad they did. They're sweet videos, and they're pretty instructive, and I'm giving them kind of a shameless plug here. But I watched a bunch of those videos, and I went ahead and got me a new Phelps turkey call, the Black Bat. Pretty excited to try it out, and I'm going to go out and do some turkey hunting this spring. So what I was hoping you guys would do is I want you guys to write in to jim@thewesternhuntsman.com, and I want you to write to like as if the person you're talking to or the person you're writing into has never been turkey hunting before. Maybe they've never even been hunting before, but you're going to give like your best advice for a first-time turkey hunter, spring turkey, keeping it in mind, spring turkey, and write like a summary of the most important things a turkey hunter should know. And then I'm going to select the best one. Be creative, be funny. Let's write in. And what I'll do is I'll select the best one, and I'll read it on the intro in a podcast next month. Because turkey season's like less than 2 months away. So write into me. giving your best advice. Keep it, less than 1,000 words. Don't go too crazy there. And as long as I get at least 5 entries, enough to kind of read through and engage and judge, and don't worry about grammar. I'm not like a grammar Nazi or anything, but write into me and give me your best advice for turkey hunting in the springtime, and we'll get you signed up. Whoever wins that for this Phelps Black Bat. I have one right here. It's actually my first turkey call. I've never really used one before. Here, let's pop it in and try it. Yeah, it's a little bit different. A little different than the elk reeds I'm used to. You know what? I got my bugle tube here too. Let's try. I'm gonna use the turkey call and a bugle tube. We're gonna try to call in an elk. Here we go. It kind of works. Wouldn't that be fun? Calling an elk with a turkey diaphragm. Okay. All right. I'll quit fucking around here. So turkey diaphragm black bat, winner is going to receive one of those for free. I'll send it to you. So write in best stories, Jim@thewesternhuntsman.com, Jim@thewesternhuntsman.com. I think a lot of people, when they're sending me emails, I keep getting people telling me they've sent me an email, but I never get them because they're not putting the in there, thewesternhuntsman.com. So, and I'll put that in the show notes for you. So send me an email. You know what we haven't done in a while? We haven't picked on any anti-hunters for a while. And I want to make sure that we definitely touch on the anti-hunting movement periodically. And it was perfect today. Do you guys know who Donnie Vincent is? If you guys don't know who Donnie Vincent is, you need to get on like Facebook or YouTube or Instagram and check him out. He had an epic response to this dude, and he crossed the guy's name out, which I get it. But Donnie posted this, and I'm going to read you what this guy posted. Okay, here's what he posted. He's got this goofy little image here next to it. How can one define himself like a conservationist and spend his energy killing defenseless animals, Mr. Vincent? Okay, so that was his comment. Let's put that into perspective a little bit here, because I do want to, in the guy's defense, maybe if you're looking at it from somebody who's never had experience in the outdoors, they've never hunted, they've never fished, they've never, you guys know there's a lot of people that live in these major metropolitan areas that never get outdoors, and they don't have any connection with the outdoors like we do. They don't see wildlife like we do. They see it on National Geographic or some other show that they're watching on TV. But that's the basis of their connection to nature and wildlife and conservation and public lands and just getting out there and being connected with this stuff. So in that perspective, I could see where this might be a fair question. But Donnie Vincent's response is brilliant. I love it. So Donnie goes on. Here's what he says. Human beings have been hunting for nearly 2 million years. In fact, hunting defines us as a human being. There are debates on how our brains evolved to be significantly larger than that of the mountain gorilla and the chimpanzee, but most concur that it was the hunting and scavenging of meat, and more importantly, the cooking of the meat, that acted as our evolutionary catalyst. Animals, including you and I, aren't defenseless. Not one of us. In fact, our genetics make sure of it through differential reproductive success. Some develop speed, some camouflage, others claw and fang. Some can freeze their bodies in winter, and some can heat their brains to hunt in colder water. But all, besides the most simplistic of organisms, have fantastic developments which define them as a species. Your comparison for the living is what brings you to write me, and your great disconnect from the real world, the wild world, is what's allowed you an opinion that is light years from who you really are. All right, continued on here. Others provide for you now. The blood and soil erosion rest in the hands of the men and women who provide for you. Unfortunately, this is now the trend of our species, and so we continue to exponentially cultivate disease, obesity, and worst of all, overpopulation. I describe myself as a conservation because these notions never leave my mind. It's a big idea, one that begs us to change and to leave places better than how we found them. It's not something us humans are very good at, but every little bit of mindfulness helps. And the hunters, I know, love wild places, and so they fight like hell to keep them and to establish as much new habitat as possible. Whether you'll ever hunt or fish or gather for yourself, I suggest you stand beside a hunter and start visualizing and working towards a change instead of building walls between us, which will only erode everything that we both hold dear to our hearts. I very much appreciate you taking the time to write, I ask myself these same difficult questions every day, but it's important that we never rest on our laurels. That's a great response, Donnie. Not sure if you'll ever listen to this, but that's a damn fine response, and I appreciate you taking the time to make that kind of response that is articulate and gets right to the point of what's important to us as hunters and frankly as human beings. So what a sweet response. I appreciate that. So hope you guys get on there and check him out. That was cool. I absorb myself in a lot of this anti-hunting stuff and these organizations and some of the stuff that they put out there, and I like seeing hunters getting on there and engaging them, and not just engaging them with just a bunch of BS and hateful talk and calling them names and stuff like that. That doesn't do anything for anybody. People are actually getting on there and they're responding with facts and what hunting means and the history of hunting and why it's important to us and why it's not something that we're going to tolerate being removed from our lives. Because especially here in the United States, we'll do as we damn well please, and we don't want your opinion about it, period. So anyways, hopefully you guys can check that out. Let's get on to the Pottenger boys. Troy and Jess and Ty. This is the second part, 2-part series. Make sure you guys are really paying attention. If you guys hunt mountain whitetails, you guys are going to be excited about this second half. Mountain whitetails are much different than the way we go about hunting these whitetails in the Midwest or the East or the South or anywhere else. They're not hunting private ranches. They're hunting public land. I talked about all this in the intro of the last one, so you guys are going to really enjoy this. I appreciate you tuning in. Check us out on Facebook at The Western Huntsman, Instagram at The Western Huntsman, and Twitter if you want. Don't know how much longer I'm going to keep this Twitter thing going, but we're giving it hell. So Twitter is at Western Huntsman. There's no the in the Twitter one. So send me a tweet. Let's see how that thing goes. Check us out, guys. All right. Monster Mountain Whitetails and Raising Real Men, part number 2. Here we go. Actually,
the first time this year that I've ever sat in a true tree stand, like I've sat in like ladder stands that are 10, 12 foot up or whatever, like up behind the house or wherever we're at. I went archery hunting with Tyson this year because I had nothing to do. The fishing, it was crappy weather, so I'm like, yeah, I'll go sit with you. Yeah, so I was going to film for him. We get to the first set, and he's like, yeah, it's kind of high. He's like, it's probably the highest one we got. And I was like, okay. He's like, you'll be fine. He takes me to the highest set, the first one, and I get to the tree, and I'm like looking up, and I'm like, I don't even see the stand yet. Oh, there it is. And
how far up are we talking?
What was it, 30?
Jess's feet were about 30 feet.
30 feet to his feet?
Yeah, and he's like, all right, you go up first. I'm like, all right, I got it. And I start climbing up, and I'm getting up. I'm like, just look at the tree. Don't look down. Don't look down. And I get up and sit down. I'm like, I got a 1.5-foot platform that my feet are sitting on and a little 8x8 seat that I'm on, and I'm 30
That's way up
feet
there.
up in the tree, and
Jess
I'm
is
just like
6'3", 260.
Yeah. That's way up there.
No,
30
I get
feet.
why they do it, but yeah, it was definitely an experience, and it's just another aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Hardcore.
That is hardcore.
And the reason, people think 30 feet, well, 35 years of bow hunting whitetails in the mountains, I can go to the Midwest and hunt at 12, 15 feet. You get out here in the mountains with the winds and the mountain wind
this
that
must
we
be
have
wind
and
related.
the thermals, everything's wind related. I position all my tree stands with a wind advantage for me, but a good wind for my bucks. So maybe I'll have a bluff behind me or a draw behind me or just an unbelievable thick bunch of blowdowns he won't walk through. But I still get high because over the years I've found that if I can get up around 30 feet, I escape some of the wind issues that I deal with at 20. And it's helped
Interesting.
me. So there's a whole nother aspect. Learn how to shoot whitetails at 30 feet with a bow.
Yeah.
At 10 yards and at 8 yards and at 6
That's
yards.
quite the angle.
And what we have found, I think Ty and I both, and Ty's watched me do it for years, year after year after year after year. we're shooting whitetail bucks with a bow and arrow at angles that, if you look at the anatomy, totally makes sense, but at angles most guys aren't. So we're coming down through like a high lung and blowing the bottom of his heart out.
Wow.
Doing stuff like that.
So you're shooting kind of right into the back, essentially.
We're shooting just off. We don't want to hit a bone.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we're shooting at angles that you better be a damn good shot.
Mm-hmm.
You better not let adrenaline and buck fever take over. And that only comes with a lot of experience.
Yeah.
When a whitetail buck walks in on me, my heart doesn't move. And Tyson has learned at a young age to not allow his heart to just go nuts. Where my heart moves now is after I kill him. And even Tyson, I think, can talk about this for himself. Even every year for him, being around these big deer, killing these deer, it gets easier for him too. You learn to control that adrenaline rush. And for me, it's simple. I just take that real slow, deep breath when it's the buck I know I want to kill, and then I just get calm. And I always call it, you got to get into that kill zone mind frame. Because if you let your adrenaline take over, you're shaking so bad you can't make those kind of shots.
You could do a total a class just on that alone.
Just on the physiology of that.
The physiology of that, because I still there's times. In fact, I had a big mule deer buck this year. I got crazy buck fever over, and I don't normally get that bad, but
it's that adrenaline rush.
It's that adrenaline rush, and I missed him.
Dump.
Yeah.
I think.
Go ahead.
I just think over the years, what's helped me. I mean, at a young age, most people would think young kids get buck fever really fast. Like I said, I've been filming my dad with big whitetails around me since I was 10. So I didn't even shoot a big whitetail until I was 13. I had 2 or 3 years in the woods filming my dad kill big deer at 15 yards. So for me, the first time, like my dad said, every time it gets a little bit easier. The first time, though, you do it out of the respect for the animal. You want to get in a zone where you're going to make the best ethical shot that you can. You don't want to be jittery because you want to make the cleanest, fastest kill you can on that animal. So I personally get in the zone because I respect a big whitetail so much, because I know how hard they are to find. I know how hard, all the time, the work you put in, all the hours. You do it out of the respect for the animal to try to get locked in and make a good shot on them. So for me, it's been.
What the hell do you do, man? The kid's 16 years old saying this stuff.
Well, he's lived it.
Like I said, I've been in the woods for so long.
As a father, we talk about the serious. As a father, for my boys, we talk about the raw, serious stuff with this. Wound a big old whitetail that you've watched grow for 5 years and lose him, and let me tell you how that feels.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
That totally would suck. And I'm not speaking from a guy who I don't ever shoot deer that I know beforehand. They always surprise me.
Again, I don't want to come across as cocky, but I don't miss many deer.
Yeah.
And it's because of the time spent and how serious I take it so serious that, like Ty said, I won't take a crappy shot on a big buck. He'll walk. I won't launch an arrow.
Would you mind sharing your bow and arrow setup?
I'm a big believer in good heavy kinetic energy. I shoot. I used to shoot 80 pounds always, but I'm 50 years old now. I'm still strong enough, easy, no problem, to shoot 80, but I shoot 70 now because the new bows produce a ton of kinetic energy with the right arrow setup.
Yeah, for sure.
I also shoot a heavy arrow. I like high FOC, meaning weight forward, so I do a 50 grain insert on a 29-inch full metal jacket, carbon aluminum composite, toughest arrow made.
Oh, you're using aluminum.
Carbon aluminum combined.
Aluminum. Oh, I see.
They're called FMJs, full metal jackets. By Easton, to this day, they're still the toughest arrow I've found. I killed a giant bear, a big bull elk, and a big whitetail buck in the same year with the same arrow and same broadhead.
Oh, no kidding.
And I always use a cut out one-piece steel broadhead. So I'm shooting heavy, Jim. I'm shooting 125 grain plus 50 extra grains up front, so that when my arrow hits,
bam,
it's going through. And I always, Ty is my witness, I always get a pass through.
Complete pass through.
Yeah, and
sweet. That makes me feel better. I'm using something similar.
The big thing is staying calm, and your arrow hits where you want it to.
Yeah.
You know, these people that are slinging arrows in this thick brush up here, you're gonna deflect arrows and you're gonna wound animals. I'm a slam dunk shooter. My bucks I kill, 5 to 20 yards. That's it.
See, and there's
5
always
to 20 yards.
there's never a lot of in between with people. They're either, I've heard people say things like if arrows ain't flying, they ain't dying kind of thing, but they're missing all the time,
That's
right?
a terrible attitude.
I agree.
Arrows ain't flying, they ain't dying, they're getting wounded.
Yeah.
And people don't talk about that.
They are dying. You're just not finding them.
Yeah. Good point. The crows are.
I really like what Ty says about the respect thing. We've killed so many big bucks that we've got to know. You get to know these big deer that we hunt because we let them grow to 4, 5, 6 years old.
Do you guys give them a name usually?
We name them all. Every one of them has a name. Every one of them has grown up on our trail cameras.
Where do you get the name ideas from?
Anything possible.
Characteristics.
Most of the times, generally, it's something about the deer, like if he's got a nick deer or even just the points on his rack. Sometimes, like, we'll name a lot of deer just after their points.
What are some of the names?
Like the buck my dad killed last year was a big 6x6, so he was 6-pack. Just stuff like
six
that.
pack, yeah.
And he was a 6x6 since he was 2.5 years old.
Oh, really?
He was incredible, but we
So
let him.
those kind of characteristic names, and they're not like
Yeah, but we also do.
Bob.
Well, we have a lot of bucks and a lot of different drainages that we lay out, and that I call setting out my trap lines and trail cameras.
Oh yeah, I heard you talking about that on another
So I
podcast.
like
You
trail
run your
cameras
trail cameras like a
based
trap line.
Off of those scrapes and that scent.
Mhm.
So the way I hunt whitetails is exactly like a trapper hunts his animals.
Okay.
What I do is get bucks to come into my scrapes. Just like a trapper has a wolf or a lion or whatever, a bobcat come into their scent. I use scent. I'm a big proponent of biology of a whitetail buck because that drives him.
Uh-huh.
That's his number one
What kind of scent are you talking about?
I use the synthetic scent. I use urine, buck urine. I use a synthetic doe urine. But the key to it all is my synthetic forehead gland and
Gotcha.
preorbital. A whitetail buck has preorbital glands, forehead glands, and saliva glands that he deposits on a licking branch year around. That's why I said back to when I moved to my Santa place in the summer.
Yep.
And I watched that whitetail buck walk out in the summer, deposit his scent on a licking branch.
Gotcha.
That fascinated me.
Is that similar? Do mule deer do something similar to that?
No, they don't deposit. They don't leave. They're more nomadic.
That's kind of what I thought.
Mule deer walk through our scrapes. They scent check them, but they won't frequent them once a month.
When they scent check them, are they marking them as well, or are they just kind of ignoring them?
They just know, oh, that's a whitetail.
Yeah, so they're just
these animals live together.
Yeah.
They're used to whitetail scrapes. They walk by, oh, that's a whitetail.
What about elk? Do they walk by and scent
Elk
them?
will come in and smell our licking branches and scent check, and honestly, in my opinion, this is a whitetail, and they move on. Moose make scrapes. Moose will lay down in bed in our deer scrapes.
Oh, really?
And stay for a day or two.
Interesting.
Because they like the urine on the ground.
A bull moose or both?
Both.
Both?
But back to my point about the whole trapping mentality of whitetails and using scent, it's not about what's on the ground as much, because that's for the rut.
Uh-huh.
It's keeping them year-round on that licking branch.
Gotcha.
So we have big mature bucks that address licking branches around the entire year as long as there's not 2 feet of snow there. Huh. So if there's a couple feet of snow, he'll leave. But he'll always come back to those big scrapes and check them to let every doe know in the drainage, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm healthy, ready to go.
That's awesome.
It's really a biology game for me with these whitetails. I make bucks hunt me.
Tell me about that. Do you make them hunt you? So
yeah, I use these synthetic scents. I've used them since the 1990s, and the reason I like synthetic, and now Idaho's a synthetic scent only state. You're not supposed to.
Yeah, that's a new thing, right?
Because
the last
of
couple years.
CWD and all that. So anyway, I jumped on these buckfeversynthetics.com, buckfeverusa.com years ago, because Idaho is a non-baiting state. When I was in the 1990s, I found a lot of scrapes. I watched deer hit scrapes, and then I did a bunch of reading and research and thought, why can't I trap whitetails just like a trapper traps his predators?
Mm-hmm.
So I jumped into a ton of research, and it all made sense to me. Absolutely, I can use scent to get these bucks to come and check. So what I do is I am basically, in a nutshell, introducing another big mature buck to a community hub scrape, and it fires up the breeders. The big breeder bucks want to know who in the hell moved in. I've never smelled this guy before. He's moving in on my girls.
So when do you do that? When do you set up these mock scrapes?
April on.
April on?
Yeah, usually April
And you guys
on.
usually go with them?
March
And
sometimes. Go ahead, Tyler.
It's not always mock scrapes, like my dad said. Most of the time, we're scouting, shed hunting, like he said, using maps, getting into an area, and just putting boots on the ground and scouting. Most of the time, we find big
existing ones.
community scrapes
gotcha.
that have already been there, and automatically we always pack buck fever in our packs. Even when we're shed hunting in May, February, we mark it, we put a camera on it, and we know we're gonna probably go back there. And if the terrain matches up, the scrape looks how it should be, big. These aren't little rut scrapes that a fired up buck makes in November, a little paw out and a tiny thing.
We're not talking about
this
these.
is
Gotcha.
big as this table we're sitting on right now. Sometimes
Wow.
with licking branches that are just destroyed.
And you can tell, not to interrupt, but real quick, you can tell on these licking branches, Jim, that they've been tattered, used, abused for 30, 40 years.
So they're just generation after generation is using the same community scraper, basically
grow
licking
up
branch.
So-
Yeah.
All the deer in the drainages, even
Yeah.
the next drainage over,
10
and
miles.
The next one.
Interesting.
We'll know where these scrapes are.
What I was trying
It's
to
like
get
a
to is
network.
that you can what we do is we either find a pre-existing one and overmark it and introduce a new buck, a new big buck in that area, or if we find an area where there's deer sign, it looks good, the terrain is good, everything is suitable, the wind's good, we can hang a set in there. If it looks right for us and there's not a community scrape already there,
Or
which
we can't
usually
find
Usually there is.
Right.
Honestly, usually there is.
One. We just walk right in on it.
If we don't find one, we build a community scrape, and that's what my dad killed his buck last year on. Was found a really nice, really good area that had a bunch of deer sign. You could tell like it was where a big buck would want to live. Had the white wind, was bedding up above it in thick timber. My dad went in there and he found it in October.
I put it in October 28th.
And he put it in, and we actually hunted. We didn't even go back there. We hunted other spots. I killed my buck, and the next day after I killed my buck, my dad was like, "Let's go check this area because I think it's going to be good." And we went in there. The whole flat that we were on was blown up. There was new scrapes. There was huge rubs, and before we even checked the camera, we were like, "There's a big deer in here," and ended up we checked the camera. There's 190 inch, 160, and two 160 inch bucks and a bunch of young bucks on it like that away.
What did you say those GPS coordinates were?
Nowhere.
So Ty does a great job of explaining what we're doing. When we get into a spot and we don't find the community scrape that we want, we build one that looks just like what the deer need to see. They have to be authentic. You can't just go build a scrape. It has to have the look of decades. And we take. I'll spend.
How do you do that?
That's a tutorial. That's something that would take me honestly another half hour to talk about.
Okay.
In a nutshell, though, multiple licking branches that are tattered and torn. Don't get your and we wear latex gloves. I mean, we're trappers.
Yeah.
Knee-high rubber boots. When you're serious about a big deer, you do it all right. You don't leave any human scent, residual scent on anything, just like a good trapper does. And we create this community-looking scrape, and this is what I found out that's really interesting. When my bucks first find it, when we build one, there's probably one within a mile of where we're at. We just didn't find it, but we know we're in a great area. These great big deer will walk into it because they'll smell it. From our scent from a half a mile away or a mile away, they come to it. Now, understand, they don't just come rolling in the hunting season because they're smelling you too in the hunting season.
Sure.
But back to them finding it in the off season, they walk in and you can watch them on. We do all videos on our scrapes so that we get true intelligence, not just a picture. So these big bucks, and I'll send you some videos that blow your mind, or you can look at my YouTube.
Yeah, I want to see some of these.
But these big bucks walk in, and I'm talking 5-year-olds, and they find it, and they look at it like, how in the hell did I miss that? I have been missing this community hub, and I'm 5 years old.
Wow.
So what they do is they start doubling back.
They come back, and how far from the truck are you talking where you're building these things?
It really can depend.
You mentioned that the rubber boots going that far in to make one sounds like that hurts.
You can pack your rubber boots halfway in on your backpack.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, you just throw them on your pack.
And here's another thing. We use Vanishing Hunter from Buck Fever Synthetics. We spray that. You spray that on cat litter, you can't smell the cat litter.
We use the same stuff for our fishing, and like every time we fill up the boat and we're gonna go fishing that day, we'll spray down with it, and there's no gas smell at all. Like the stuff is insane how it works.
What are you spraying with that?
Our hands.
Your hands, so it's not getting on the lure kind of thing.
Bass have great noses.
Yeah, I know they do.
Yeah.
I know they do.
But it just works really good.
I tested it years ago on cat litter. What can you spray on cat litter to kill the smell? Not many things.
Yeah, nothing.
The stuff that I've used for over 20 years.
Febreze sucks.
Yeah, because
they're never going to sponsor my show.
Here's another thing too, Jim. Anything that you go buy off the shelf that you can open and you can smell it, a buck can smell it.
Yeah.
10 times.
So just throw it out. I tell people all the time, dead downwind. I mean, I got to be careful, but the stuff that I use when you open the lid, no scent. It doesn't have an odor.
And this is all from Buck Fever USA?
Yeah.
And this is one of your sponsors.
Yeah, and they've really taken care of me over the years. And people can say, well, he's just saying that because, no, just look at my wall.
Yeah.
Look at my whitetails with a bow.
You know, I can verify that. You sent me a picture of your, I don't know, trophy room or whatever you want to call it. It's
cave.
Like I don't even know how you walk in there. There's so many antlers.
Well, I think there's 20-some Pope and Youngs hanging just in that room.
Yeah, I believe it.
There's 5 in another room. There's 3 upstairs. I had my house robbed when I was a second-year teacher and lost everything when I was 24 and younger.
Oh, no. Are you serious?
I don't have an antler from when I was 24 years and younger. I killed nice bucks growing up as a kid.
That's painful.
So, yeah, I actually had my house, every elk antler I had, every bull I had, every whitetail I had everything cleaned out of my house. So anything that I have now is from when I was 25 years and older.
God, that sucks. I hate to hear that.
I think we have 35 Pope and Youngs in the house.
35?
35 with a bow and arrow.
It's pretty impressive, yeah.
And 90% of them are public land. So
yeah. Public land, most of them are Idaho.
A couple of them are most of them are Idaho. The majority's Idaho. We like Washington too. We like Montana.
How come you like Washington? This
is what I love about Washington. I wish Idaho would consider this. They give the bow hunter some better seasons. Gotcha. The thing that hurts our whitetail population in North Idaho is the fact that it's such a long liberal rifle season, and we afford everybody 2 tags if they want them.
Yeah.
So we're killing a lot of our young bucks off. People got to get their buck. They got to get that buck killed when it's just as easy to shoot. Ty and I both shot does this year because we didn't shoot our target buck. We want the meat.
Yeah, me too.
Our rule in our home is you shoot your target buck or one that makes you happy or you kill a doe.
Yeah.
And Jess got the nicest buck of the year this year.
You got that 5-point this year, right?
Jess was the buck killer this year. Ty and I are the doe killers this year, and we're okay with that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
We're actually proud of
the doe meat probably tastes better.
Jim, I had a 4-year-old 4-point walk by me that I could have called in that is a monster. I mean, to most people.
Yeah, I would have smoked a 4-year-old.
I'll send you a picture of
him.
I
would have.
I text Ty and said that big 4 walked by, but I didn't even bother him.
Huh.
And
that takes a lot of discipline.
Well, we've done it for years.
That's like I did that episode with Dirk Durham, and he did that video series, and he's calling in all these big bull elk. They're 4, 5, 6-year-old bull elk. And he keeps passing on them. I'm like, dude, shoot one of those damn things. And but there's a method to that. Yeah, no, you guys get that, and I don't have that kind of skill. So
it gets to the point where it's like me and my dad say it all the time. We enjoy just as much watching a 3-year-old buck or a 2-year-old buck that we know someday is going to be a star walk right under us. It satisfies us just as much or more even than shooting it.
Yeah.
This year, awesome. For example, the last day of season, I had the very last day, December 15th of Archery, Washington. I had a nice 5-point, just a little bit smaller than Jess's buck, but a nice 3.5-year-old. I mean, beautiful buck. Had him at 15 yards, and I went full draw on him, and I just couldn't do it. I just put it down, and I just watched him, and it was literally, I felt way better not killing a deer. I shot a doe. I shot a doe in Idaho to film.
That's the day Ty let that deer walk.
But
let that buck walk.
That's him.
I was at full draw.
You guys listening to this should see the picture of this damn buck that he let walk. Like
this is a buck that Ty
I would have a heart attack and you'd have to call me. That's a great buck.
Tyson's sitting in the stand when that picture's taken.
It's funny because.
Jeez, man.
But we know what.
To me and my dad, we know.
You guys know what you're going for.
That deer right there in 2 years is going to be 160-inch, big, mature, the biggest dude on the mountain.
What would you say that is now, score-wise?
He's 125.
125-ish?
Yeah, Pope Young. And Jim, here's another aspect of it. We're adding to our kind of depleted health of the herd.
Yeah.
We're looking at it from a true, I'd like to see more mature bucks and bulls in North Idaho compared to how many young ones have to do the breeding.
Well, can you tell us about, like, what would you say has changed the most since this reintroduction of wolves took place? Is that because let's talk about that.
This is a good one. I was teaching in Lapway when this all went down on the Indian reservation. My second, third year of teaching, and I saw it all. I went to the Native American facilities where they were raising these wolves, and I had to I took my classes there to look at these wolves. How has it changed everything? We now have the greatest predator there is, in my opinion, in the mountains. Better, as good as a lion or better, because they work in packs.
Yeah, definitely. I'd much rather have lions.
Putting a ton of pressure on our deer and elk herds. They have moved where the deer and elk herds like to live or try to survive. They have helped reduce the mature animals because they will target an old, worn-out, big old mature whitetail buck because he's
good
worn
DNA
out after
too.
the rut. They can smell a deer and elk and can tell by how healthy that deer elk is metabolizing protein, and they will hone in on a deer that's sick. Even if he's a big old buck or a big old doe or a big old bull or a old cow, they will hone in on who's wore out, who's sick, and who's run down.
No shit.
And people don't realize that. They don't just kill the little youngsters. They will go after what animal smells run down and wore out.
Wow.
It's decimated some of our elk herds.
They smell.
I grew up with elk everywhere when I was in the 80s and early 90s before they introduced them. Some of my best elk hunting spots don't even have an elk in it anymore.
Yeah,
my big whitetail,
I hear that a lot. I hear that all the time.
Jim, my big whitetail spots, nothing. I can run trail cameras for a year and maybe get a 2.5-year-old buck in it. What do I get on camera all the time? Wolves.
Yeah.
Lions. And we got a lot of great guys busting their tail in Idaho, busting these wolves.
Yeah, we do. But
we haven't always been told the truth, and the numbers have never been exact.
Yeah.
They're such an incredible survival machine for a predator. We'll never, in my opinion, keep them where we would like them.
Yeah, no, and that's
it's
proof.
Do.
Yeah,
I hope we do.
The numbers say it right now.
I hope we do, but I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime.
I don't know if I will either.
Right.
The state of Idaho is the habitat and the landscapes here. We can handle 300 to 500 wolves, right? And that the objective was 150, and then managed for 300 to 500.
And it's thousands.
1,500 wolves in the state of Idaho.
Yeah, and they're not managing them.
But they can count too.
Well,
that's the only they can count.
Here's what happened, in my opinion. It was an oh shit deal. They didn't realize what kind of firestorm they were opening up, and then all of a sudden the revenue left the state because nobody wanted to hunt no elk and dead elk.
Yeah.
So then it's like open season on them now. And hey, I'm thankful we can hunt the heck out of them now. I'm thankful we can trap the heck out of them now. What I hate seeing is states like Washington, our neighbors, or even Montana, wait too long like we did in Idaho, and then it's just going to be that way on every landscape.
Well, and I think that's what happened in Idaho is once they were reintroduced in the state, it only took 2 or 3 years to meet the management objective of 150. And then what happened is when it was coming off the endangered species list, all of a sudden you have these pro-wolf organizations that come in and litigate the hell out of us for 10 years. Hunters and trappers.
That's what they do.
We don't have enough hunters and trappers.
They tie it up in legislation
to catch up. Yeah, exactly. They tie it up in legislation.
They play that government game.
That's what's happening with the grizzly bear situation right now. Yeah. So meanwhile, we got grizzly bears growing. The populations are growing like crazy.
We got grizzly bears. You said in your backyard.
Well, I had one come literally right through the yard here.
This is
just north of ran out. I ran out. I was in my underwear and I threw it in a headlock and I scared. no, I'm just kidding. I didn't do that. No, right through here. Came right through. Killed a neighbor's chicken. and we can't do anything about it. Obviously I would have, but
at what 15,000 or 1,500 elevation, 2,000.
We're 2,200 feet right here.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a grizzly bear.
Yeah, grizzly bear come down out of the Cadment Mountain Range and worked his way down the Coeur d'Alenes and right out here. I'm in Unit 3. My house is in Unit 3 of Idaho.
People need to understand that there's a lot of us that live out in the West that don't want to rely on a grocery store.
Yeah.
That don't want to have to be forced.
And that's our right. We have a right to that.
It's our right, and it's actually primal in our DNA.
Exactly.
To want to go out, breathe fresh air, hunt an animal down, respect it, harvest it, take care of it, put it in your freezer, and consume it.
Yep.
That is
same with bass. Same with anything.
It's so important, and
it's our nature.
I don't want to see that leave the human species.
I agree.
That's so important, and stuff like these are topics we need to talk about, not just tactics on how to hunt.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. That's the premise of this show, is to talk about some of these issues as hunters, between anti-hunting organizations and pro-wolf groups and people that don't use science. The science is on our side.
They're emotional decisions on their part.
They're emotional decisions, and this happens so much, whether it's a political issue or an animal issue or anything like that. We get wrapped up in this emotional argument that, it's so bad to kill a cuddly little wolf, when they don't understand that they're decimating every other species. So why is it okay that wolves thrive, but they annihilate everything else?
One thing that, like you said, they say they're cuddly little wolves. With these people who don't even, the hunters get to see it firsthand.
Yeah,
we're the ones who get to see a wolf.
We see the carnage,
the hamstrings out of a cow moose or a cow elk, and piece it apart. That's not a cuddly little wolf. They're decimating, and they're the most vicious predator out here, and there's way too many of them.
And
they don't get to see it.
I totally agree. The only thing they see is on National Geographic and the teddy bears they see in the at the
National Park,
yellow
that would eat bread out of your hand.
Yeah, exactly. It's such an unrealistic take into try to, these out-of-staters that want to manage our wolves for us in their way with this emotional-based management system is, I get fired up about it, man. My blood pressure goes through the roof.
Experience like we hunters do in the West. Until you see it firsthand, these people have no credibility at all.
No, you're exactly right.
To make a judgment call on what the wolves do and what they don't do, if the people who don't want them here is the people that actually get to see what they do.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think anybody is advocating for complete annihilation of wolves, right? I wish they would have never reintroduced them, but the reality is they did.
Here's the reality, too. From a physiological standpoint, we reintroduced a wolf that was about a third the size bigger than what was native to Idaho. Mm-hmm. Another third bigger. All of my trail cameras that I run year-round, I'm losing my moose big time. I can hardly find a cow and calf moose anymore.
Yeah, me too,
compared to
man.
the old days.
It's different.
My elk, the maturity of the bulls where I hunted for years has dropped from every year I had at least an 8 or 10-year-old bull, and now it's 3 or 4-year-old bull. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that's everywhere. And there's places you can get into where you can find the old one. But, hey, our whitetails, which I really keep tabs on, I usually have to make a 50 to 100-mile swath in 30 drainages to find a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old buck.
It's insane.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I used to find one Jim in every drainage.
This is
at
why
least a 4 or 5-year-old.
This whole ballot box game management it's got to stop, and they're just starting it in the process in Colorado right now. And this ballot box type kind of management is just not appropriate. It's not.
There's
consistent.
an agenda out there that wants us to go to the grocery store
mm-hmm.
and to live there and to just be a puppet and do our daily thing and make our routines and spend our money in certain places.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want self-reliant people.
I know.
There's an agenda out there that's part of it's this whole introduction of an alpha predator.
Yep, I agree. And I'm going to fight him, man.
No, me too. I
am fighting him tooth and nail. I'm not tolerating this.
And my boys will do it, and I will continue to eat elk and deer. And
I feel good. I got some young blood here.
We're going to continue to also live the life of not just hunting and killing an animal.
Yeah.
It's all about the harvest, the freezer, everything to us.
It is.
For us, it is.
For sure.
For these guys, I mean, I'm 5'9" or 10, and my boys are 6'1" and 6'3". They grew up on elk and deer meat. Mm-hmm. They grew up on a garden vegetable. We go to the grocery store a lot too, but understand their main means of protein their whole life We've never had to buy
game.
beef, and I have nothing against beef, but we've never had to buy it.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. And we got a little spot out here. We're going to start a big garden. I don't know anything about gardening, so I might have to call you on that deal.
We didn't either, and my wife and I just keep piddling with it. It is hard to garden in this country.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of sun on my lot here. Yeah,
but we're really looking into. My wife cans. We vacuum seal can stuff like crazy. We even really enjoy getting out in the mountains and picking huckleberries. Yeah. Storing those up. She makes enough jam every year for the year out of huckleberries.
Yeah, we do too. I have a little secret in my place here. An entire acre of huckleberries. And they're awesome. Big bushes, big buried bushes. I love them. So, but I got trail cameras. I'm watching you, Jesse.
It's
better not be sneaking out there.
It's funny. My wife and I'll go to the mountains in the summer when the boys are busy, either fishing, working. Jess works, goes to college, fishes like crazy. Ty's a football guy and works and goes to high school. My wife and I'll take off for 2 days and we'll go pick huckleberries, and I check trail cameras. Mm-hmm. And some of my best places to hunt whitetails is at that high elevation huckleberry line.
I know, it's a great spot.
It's probably where you saw your big buck.
Yeah.
There's probably huckleberries in that country.
There are. Yeah. There's huckleberries almost everywhere I hunt. Yeah, for sure. So this is we've got. I don't think I've asked you like one official question from this interview.
If you see something on there we need to hit, Jim, we better hit it.
We better hit it. That says, where all have you hunted, by the way? I'm curious. I know you've hunted the Midwest and...
We're talking whitetails, right?
Yeah, whitetail.
Okay, I've hunted Iowa, killed a buck there. That's an interesting story. I actually passed up a 192 buck because my buddy I was hunting with on his land really wanted to kill that deer. Real quick, I'll make it short. I said, please just let me, after 3 days of hunting, I said, please just let me go sit where I want to sit based on your maps of your place, and let me go sit where I would like to sit, because I hadn't seen much. I was sitting on field edges, and that's just kind of how they do it out there, and they live there, so they have all season to catch one on a field edge. Mm-hmm. I dove into the timber, got into a deep timber stand, and within like 2 hours called in a really nice 150 class buck and a 192 together. And I literally, my buddy had been hunting this buck all year and wanted to kill him. And I'm on his property. And he told me if I saw him to go ahead and shoot him, but I could tell. I could tell that my boys still think I'm stupid. Well, not didn't like it. I just really thought, I'd like to come back. So I literally had a 192-inch whitetail, a 7x8, 25 inches wide, 300 pounds right under me. Called him right in with a snort wheeze. Called him right into me with snort wheeze and the other, and I shot the smaller buck. And then I told Jay about the encounter. He couldn't believe it. He hadn't seen that big buck all season, but it's because I got into the security cover where they feel safe. Mm-hmm. All that to say, he killed that buck later in muzzleloader when it got cold and hungry. He killed him in January on a cut cornfield.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah.
But he ended up killing him, so we know what he scored.
You use that snort wheeze quite a bit then?
I use a snort wheeze when I see a big buck that I didn't get a shot at to call him back. Mm-hmm. Because a big mature breeder buck he won't shy from that challenge hardly ever.
Sure.
So I just do it with my mouth, and the big deer that Ty called, we did snort wheeze him.
Snort wheezed him in?
Well, he snort wheezed at a little buck under us at a scrape with a doe.
Oh.
And so I hit him with a snort wheeze right away. He thought it was the little buck.
So he was pretty irritated about it.
Ask Ty how that went down.
You got him in, huh?
He came. Go ahead, Ty.
This is that one in Washington? That 164-ish?
Gross.
Yeah. Gotcha.
No, that was just a typical. I mean, it was one of the craziest rut encounters ever. Little buck, little spike was messing with a doe, trailing her pretty hard. Honestly, we were surprised that it wasn't a bigger buck because you could tell she was getting close.
At our community straight.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, okay.
And so they came by, had a little encounter with them, and they left up the hill, and that big buck ended up killing, came in, and you could tell he was just scent checking that area, scent checking the scrape area, that whole little hub, and right away he picked up at about 60 yards out. He picked his head up and flicked his tail and licked his nose and right up the hill, right towards those two.
Right towards those other two.
Right, where that hot doe was. And like right away we could hear him up there. about 150 yards up there, grunting, chasing, just thrashing through the timber. And here they come back down.
To the scrape.
And
that community scrape.
That doe and that little buck literally ran right through the scrape, chasing each other. Just ran right through the scrape.
Right through our scrape.
And then they stopped right under us.
Literally.
And that's when that big buck up top, the buck I ended up killing, snort wheezed, and both that little buck and that doe just put the brakes on right under our stand at like literally 5 and 20 yards.
Oh, jeez.
And we could hear him coming down. My dad snort wheezed at him, and he just literally came down there on a full sprint. Like
you could hear him coming like he was coming like a freight train.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Breaking limbs.
Yeah.
I love that.
Came down there and
He's
13-yard shot.
Deer.
Oh yeah, it's a big old buck.
Yeah, 13-yard shot, and he was done. And
Did you get that one on camera?
That's all on film. Yeah.
So do you film your own hunts too, or?
Yeah, I do. Now I whenever I'm hunting by myself, because me and my dad have started to do that more now that I can drive. I've been in the woods quite a long time now. I film myself when I'm hunting, and my dad films himself. But like I said, I like hunting with my dad more because it's easier if you can minimize your movement and minimize your smell as much as you can, because 2 people is harder to kill a big buck than it is 1. It's double the movement, double the smell, double everything.
Yeah, all those factors.
All those factors come into double when you're in there, but it's also easier to get the camera on him when you're with 2 people. All I got to worry about is get my bow, draw, and shoot him. Instead of
worrying about the camera,
on, make sure he's on him, make sure my camera's on, then get my bow, then get hooked up, then get drawn on him where he's not going to see me. All that stuff comes into play. Long story short, that 13-yard shot on that big buck, but he came running to a snort wheeze.
That is sweet. Yeah. That is awesome.
And just to finish that, Jim, for Ty and I together, that was probably to this day the coolest experience on a bow and arrow whitetail hunt on public land I've ever experienced. And I think so for Ty, because when Ty shot that deer thought he was going to fight because we snort wheezed him. We had the perfect decoy, a little buck with a doe. Ty shoots this buck, and this buck just thinks it's a bee sting. He's like, the other buck was really close, and I watched him, and he was like, how did that buck just stab me in the side? That's how he reacted. He didn't freak. He took the arrow. Ty gets a full pass through. Arrow buries into the ground. That buck takes that arrow, literally just.
And he's so fired up.
Yeah. He literally just looks at that young buck, turns.
Like, you dirty son of a.
That hurt. And he turns and asks Ty. He just walked. How far did he walk, Ty?
20 yards.
20 yards or so?
20 yards from us. It's a dead, silent night out. We're listening to him breathing. 20 yards. This is only 10 seconds into this. He stops. And I'm not joking. It was the loudest, most guttural lung cleaning because his lungs were filling up with blood. He blew his lungs out, tried to do it again. What did he do it twice, Ty? And it literally was eerie and echoed through the mountains.
Oh, wow.
And then he just, boom, tipped over
rolled
dead.
over, yeah.
It was unreal. And that all took place in about a minute.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That was kind of...
It makes the hair on my neck stand up. Right?
Oh, yeah.
When that happened, it was kind of going back to respecting the animal. It was like shocking. It like kind of awed me. I was just sitting there like, dang. Like you kind of go over your head like what just happened. I mean, you're taking an animal's life on obviously for great reasons. I mean, I think we got 100 pounds of burger off that deer. Not kidding. Because this deer is so big.
Seriously?
But
it's like a damn mule deer.
Yeah. But anyway, it just kind of was like, it was like Dad said, it was so eerie and it was so real, like
or maybe just
natural.
Surreal.
Yeah, it was just
surreal.
So,
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah,
like Ty said, we knew this buck for 3 years.
Yeah, and so that's
an
interesting thing too.
Like I'll let Ty speak for himself, but for me, I always say a prayer, and there's a little bit of like
sadness.
A little bit because of how much I respected that deer living that long.
Oh, for sure.
But, that's part of it.
Oh, absolutely.
We don't get all goofy and teary-eyed about it, but there's a look. You have that reverence or that respect for that animal. And then it was just for us. It was like my son's 13. He just double lungs a giant public land buck that we knew well. He actually was a little surprised. I think when he came in, I said, "Take him. He's yours."
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Shocking.
Congratulations on that. That's a great buck.
I wanted my son to have the ice in his veins to be able to look at a 250-pound whitetail that's 22 inches wide, 6x5, just a horse, and he handled it well. He passed the test. He shot that deer perfect.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you film your when you're bass fishing?
I do sometimes. It's kind of a pain. Like they said, it's an extra process and extra steps. So if we're just out fun fishing, sometimes I will. But also, I mean, sharing it with us is cool. But for them, it's really easy to disguise a little 50 square, like I don't know.
In the timber.
Just a little section of timber.
Yeah,
it's easy to disguise where that is.
Yeah.
Fishing, it's so easy to tell where you are, and so it would just give away a lot of stuff. Which,
Gotcha.
I mean, you want people to catch fish, but
So his pictures are close-ups.
Yeah.
That's true. I wouldn't have thought about that.
yeah, like all of our pictures, we
Yeah.
make sure to hide the background, or we'll take the fish somewhere in the live well, take pictures, and then take them back to where we caught them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
You don't want people fishing your
Man,
home.
I didn't even think about that. Because I have a couple secret fishing spots, and I'll film it sometimes.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that.
yeah, you just got to be careful.
Mine are on the river, and actually people would be able to recognize them.
Oh yeah, there's definitely spots, and I'm
glad
not-
you said that.
I'm not against it. Like, I've seen stuff on Facebook. Guys are posting pictures, and I'm like, I know where that house is in the background. Like, I'm going to go check it out and figure out what that spot's
You
about.
know the lake back of your hand.
Yeah, seriously. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know where that tree is and where that rock formation is, and I will go there, and, like, if I don't know, now it's like, yeah, I caught fish there. It's a good spot. But it's just, I don't know, you got to be careful with social media, which that's a huge thing now, especially with, like, promoting. Like, that's my deal with the Strike King and Lose, is just the promotion on social media. So it's just a big part of it. And
So what do you have to do with that sponsorship? You promote it like on? Are you on Facebook?
yeah, Instagram
And then like
and Facebook.
Instagram.
Yep. And so that's just
You
social
got
media.
you got like a
posts.
Twitter.
I don't have a Twitter. I don't tweet that much.
I talked about it on another episode, but yeah, I don't know how it works, man. I send out these tweets and nobody
kinda
responds,
confusing,
and I'm like,
yeah.
okay, this is stupid.
And then somebody retweets it, and you're like, I think that's good.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I hope that's a good thing.
But no, just social media, and then also it's mainly just through Black Sheep, where I work, is just pushing that stuff as well as the other stuff.
Oh yeah,
But
you work at Black Sheep, huh?
yeah, that's what has facilitated the whole thing, and that's what opened the doors for me. And then I've tried to run with it. And
I was just in Black Sheep yesterday, getting turkey calls.
well, I'm there Sunday through Thursday. Come to the.
That was pretty good. I'll just take you.
No, he's called it like the biggest bird that we've shot recently. I don't know if it's the biggest ever, but we got it in the house. I shot it like 5-6 years ago. He called in. He's 10 yards behind me with his mouth. And,
Oh, you just mouth called him in?
oh yeah, always.
Kind of like the snort wheeze, everything else. I just do it with my mouth.
Oh,
Other than
really?
the grunt, yeah.
Yeah. What about calling elk? You bugle them in with your mouth?
Yeah, I really like calling, but obviously with elk, I use reeds just like everybody else and use a big tube. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the baseball bat and the reeds.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, me too. So, well, you can see behind me, I got a bunch of bugle tubes right there.
Yep.
But no, that's great. I keep forgetting you're there Sunday through Thursday at Black. I'm gonna come see you at Black Sheep.
Do it, yeah.
I'm in there all the
Talk fishing.
time.
Yeah, I'd love to.
When my
Talk
wife
your ear off.
sends me to Costco, and I always hit it at the wrong hour. All the like retired folks are in there. You're having free lunch.
Yeah.
I go into Black Sheep to burn an hour to wait for that to clear out, and
Yeah.
it works.
Do it, yeah.
So-
Come in, talk to me.
All right, I'll track you down. So
yeah, for sure.
yeah, you guys. I think I said this earlier, but you guys give me hope. I appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
you probably have like a big Instagram following, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to build it, but yeah,
How many we talking?
not like big. Like I think I have 1,000 followers.
Okay,
but
that's a lot more than me.
well,
Yeah. I don't know how Instagram works, so my wife's doing it for me.
I know my buddy's really good at it. He like I was asking him, why do you put all these hashtags and stuff on his pictures, and like looking at his following the last year or two, he's grown from like 800, just the people that we know, kinda, and he's at almost 3,000 now. And it's literally just because when you're on Instagram and you're on the home page, like it pops up a bunch of suggested stuff based on pictures that you've liked with certain hashtags. So he'll put in like 60 hashtags, and it'll come up, and it'll be like, oh, that's a sick fish, like that's a big fish, sweet picture, like the guy looks like a pro, I'm gonna go follow his account. And
And then
I've
you
noticed
hashtag
that.
it. Oh, really?
Yeah, so, like,
does he want to
hashtag
be,
is huge.
or you guys can be like an intern for the Western Huntsman Podcast social media program? Because I'm a monkey at it, man.
Yeah.
I'm good on my Facebook one. That was growing pretty fast.
These young guys, Jim. These kids have grown up with this.
Yeah,
they're great at it, and they pick up on those.
Into it.
They pick up those little nuances that we have to be taught.
Mm-hmm.
They just know. They see it. They're on it all the time.
It's crazy. What about you? You got an Instagram and Facebook? Ty?
Yeah, I'm about the same as my brother. I have like 1,500. Most of mine is football related. I do have a Twitter just for football, but Facebook and Instagram, I don't know. About the same as my brother.
You guys, if I send you the links to this show, you're going to promote it out to all your buddies?
Oh, yeah.
I will. Oh, yeah.
Sweet.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally will.
Let's get some followers, right?
Yeah.
Let's get some youth.
Yeah, let's get some. That's what I want. I want some young hunters, man, and young fishermen and fisher. I always say fisher. I feel like I'm supposed to say fisher people or something.
Just
I don't
youth.
know. Yeah, just youth in general.
People that love to fish and hunt.
Exactly.
We could talk about this for days. Like, we've been talking about hunting, and I've been touching on fishing, but I've got I could talk fishing with you all day. So
well, I'm not kidding you when I'm saying I'd like to get you on for a bass. This is my podcast is like 90% hunting, but I want about a 10% fishing shift. And the only reason that is I feel like hunting has got more up against it than fishing does.
Yeah.
And the purpose of my podcast is to promote hunting and build it and make sure that we have a future in hunting, right? Yep. And so, but I do want some fishing stuff on there because I'm passionate about it. Yeah. So, and I haven't bass fished for a long time. I caught one on accident on Ponderay one time.
Nice.
So,
smallmouth?
It was a smallie, and I'd love to go do some bass fishing again.
You're in a good bass area, Jim.
Oh, I know. I know.
It's a sin not to bass fish in this country.
It is.
Really.
I don't disagree with that. I think I spent so much time doing it when I was younger that, and then I switched to trout river fishing and deep. Yeah, a lot of fly fishing. I like fishing for kokanee and lake trout on these bigger waters and have a great time doing that. And so, we'll have to do some bass fishing
for sure. I'd love to.
So I'm going to teach you a thing or two, kiddo.
Sounds good.
You're going to teach me, man.
These guys might need to take you out on the old Bubba boat.
Yeah, I'll go. Can I wear? I'm wearing a life jacket. All right.
It's not that fast.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate you guys. I know we're kind of running a little. I can keep going, but I think we're running short on. You got a thing to get to.
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, I don't mind. I'm good.
And we can always do this again too if you guys want.
Sure.
Well, and we can do it again. But Jim, if you have a few, if we want to get just to help the listeners, if we want to talk a little more whitetail stuff here.
Okay. If you got a few minutes,
We're good on time. This is something we're all, you can tell.
Yeah.
Really means a lot to us. It is our way of life. So we're good on time. If you have some specifics you want me really to hit with the whiteys, I'd be glad to.
There was one question that I sent over to you that I really want to talk about. And basically the question is how does your hunting strategy change from September and October versus hunting in November and even later?
Okay. So
if your strategy does change.
My strategy is different than most whitetail hunters, probably 95% of whitetail hunters in North Idaho, because I hunt scrapes the entire season. I'm hunting those licking branches the entire season. Where it really changes is, though, in September, I'm hunting feed and licking branches. So food and licking branches, where a deer wants to feed and where he wants to address a community scrape.
Okay.
As soon as about middle of October rolls in, my whitetails, my big bucks, start addressing scrapes at a bigger range.
Okay.
They start prepping for the rut. So they start moving more distance to other community scrapes that all have doe family groups using them.
Gotcha.
So they just spread out. So as soon as it starts to get close to Halloween, it's pretty much just a scrape activity hunt in deep security cover where deer feel comfortable on their feet all day. I'm not hunting open fields. I never hunt edges of fields. I don't hunt edges of meadows.
Yeah.
I hunt deep timber where bucks feel like no human's going to bug them. They're traveling to those scrapes. Early season again, they're traveling to feed also. But
so you're setting up on their corridors.
I'm setting up probably within 300 yards or 400 yards of where they sleep and bed in an area all day. Big whitetail bucks in this country don't bed in the same bed every day. They bed based on the wind that day.
Mm-hmm.
So one day they might bed on the north side of the ridge. The other day they might bed on the south side of the ridge, all based on the prevailing wind. They also bed high because they like thermals.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if I've got a wind blowing out of the south, blowing towards the north, I know that a big buck in the early season is going to feed towards the south. Why? Because he wants a wind advantage in his face. So I'll hunt the community scrape on the south side of the mountain that is in between where he's going to go feed.
Gotcha.
If he's getting a wind that's straight out of the north that day, which usually we have south winds, but sometimes we get a north.
Yeah.
I'll hunt him on the north side of the mountain because he's walking towards the north to feed on that side of the mountain that day. And I'll have a scrape set up on that side too to intercept him over there.
So getting there first thing in the morning, it's dark kind of thing. And that's where you're going to determine which scrape you're going to hunt.
I'm going to hunt the location where that big whitetail buck should have a wind advantage to get there.
And how do you determine that first thing in the morning?
Well, first thing in the morning, you've got a prevailing wind always going across the top of the ridges. Always have a prevailing wind. You got to look at it. And some days the prevailing winds change. You get out of the stand and go hunt the other side.
Yeah.
Some days you have to move. But you always have a constant thermal.
Yep.
At 8 o'clock in the morning to 8:30, what's the wind do?
It's switching.
It switches.
That swirl.
That's why I always hunt off to the side. I always enter and exit from the side.
What do you mean off to the side?
Okay, that's the easiest way I can explain it.
Okay.
So in your mind, picture a spot you want to hunt a whitetail.
Okay.
If you come in directly above him or below him, the thermal kills you.
Yep.
I will hunt and set all my stands up off to the side of where he likes to travel with thermals and prevailing winds, sneak in the long way in if I have to, set a tree stand up, get into the stand, and literally never walk 20 or 30 yards out past it where he likes to come down through.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
And what I'll usually have is a wind barrier of a draw, a steep bluff, or something that I can put a stand in that keeps him from wanting to walk right up behind me.
Okay.
I use a lot of natural barriers in my setup. I look for them. I'll literally go into a terrain-based area that I really like and set up on the edge of a big flat in the heavy timber that's got a steep drop-off.
Huh.
And I'll have all the bucks and does walk out in front of me because, one, they don't want to climb up the bluff behind me. Two, that gives me a wind advantage. I can sneak in from the side. I don't even care if I have to climb a steep hill to get to it.
Yeah.
Crawl in a tree stand, and not once will I cross where those big whitetails want to walk. If you do, you leave your residual scent out there, and you're sitting for days without seeing a deer.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I'm like mind boggled by some of that right now.
It's detailed.
Super detailed.
It is super detailed with wind. Now you also have to consider the last hour of daylight. What's the wind going to do on you?
It's going to shift again. It's
and
going to swirl
downhill
and start going down. Yeah.
So when my bucks start showing up on a camera coming in the evening, the last hour of daylight, there's been times where I have to put a stand on both sides of where he likes to come in based on the prevailing wind that day or based on what the thermal's going to do at the time he walks in. So I cross-reference every trail cam picture of a buck walking in the daylight that I want to kill. I cross-reference it with that day's wind and thermal combination.
Okay.
And then you break it all down.
And break it down from there.
And you hunt him that way. You can't cross those big bucks very often. You can't walk right out through where they want to walk.
No.
You leave scent. You leave scent that he does not want to smell. Think of it this way. You have no problem going downtown, Hayden or Coeur d'Alene, and being around people.
Yeah.
What happens when somebody walks into your house in your bedroom? You have a problem with that.
Yeah. I'm heavily armed.
You're heavily armed and you're very aware.
Yeah.
I'm hunting these big whitetails in their bedrooms or right on the edge of their bedroom. So I'm hunting them not downtown Coeur d'Alene or Hayden. I'm hunting them, if you want to look at it from your perspective at your home, I'm catching you coming from your bedroom to maybe your restroom or to your kitchen.
Gotcha. So
I'm not hunting them where they're at night either, Jim. I'm not hunting. Big whitetails are smart. They'll walk right in and eat in your yard all night long.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they'll leave an hour early. And they'll come in an hour late. We're not hunting there. I don't get excited I'd never get excited about a nighttime picture ever.
Yeah,
that means nothing to me.
Doesn't mean anything. I used to get super excited about that, but yeah,
you're in the wrong
nothing.
spot.
Yeah.
People ask me all the time, how much frequency do you need? Well, we can't bait in Idaho, but I get great frequency considering I'm on public land and hunting a mountain whitetail at these scrapes. So for me, people ask me, how many times a week do you need to see a buck in the daylight at your scrape to hunt him? From August 30th until December 5th or 24th, if he's there at least 3 times a week in the daylight, that's pretty good. 3 times a week in the daylight doesn't seem like a lot.
That's a ton.
But it's a ton in this country if the buck's 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah. I'd be amazed to see something like that. And
I just have oodles of daylight video of big bucks. Now here's where it even gets more interesting. Just because I get him in the daylight, do you know how easy it is to screw that up one time with an old buck?
Well, for me, that's just what comes natural. I screw it up.
It's still hard for me, Jim. It is still splitting hairs. It's still dissection. It's still never I will not cut a corner on a big deer that I want to kill. I'll sleep overnight in my pickup so he doesn't hear my truck come into the drainage.
I've done that.
I don't want him to hear a rig coming in. I will literally wait till the thermal sometimes switches because of what he's showing me on camera. Then I'll get in my stand. Or I'm going to hunt him based on what he's showing me, what the evidence is. I'm not going to hunt him just on hope. And I won't go sit in a tree stand unless I'm in the game. I don't go out and sit in a tree stand and wish and hope that the big guy shows up that's been in there at night for 2 weeks.
Yeah, you're not just guessing.
Never.
Yeah. So on that thermal, I like to get this kind of a takeaway from all the Western experts that I'm talking to, because you're talking to a flatlander. Let's say you got a cousin that lives in Texas or something.
Thermals
wants to come up.
Yep. Thermals are everything.
Describe thermals to those to a flatlander.
So the sun heats the earth, and about an hour after daylight, the temperature heats up enough from the sun to cause a thermal draft uphill. But it's always an hour and a half, 2 hours after daylight, depending on how cold the day is and how much cloud cover there is. So it's not always exactly the same time every day.
Yeah,
let's just say first couple hours. You, as a whitetail hunter that's positioned in one spot, I'm not out walking through the woods busting my bucks out of their beds. I'm tree stand hunting these guys. Yeah. I'm ambushing them. I'm having them hunt me at my scrapes. They think I'm a new deer that's walked into their living quarters that they've lived in the last 5 or 6 years, and all of a sudden there's this new dude in town that's urinating and leaving preorbital gland and scent all over his licking branch, and he's like, what is this new dude doing? And I've never seen. He's never smelled me before until I introduced myself to him. So he starts frequenting me more. So with these thermals, yes, I have to pay close attention to when he is comfortable to come in and check me in the daylight.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha. That's awesome. So, now I lost my train of thought.
Still talking thermals. Then you have to deal with the evening thermal later in the day.
Yeah.
Which is a total switch.
Yeah, it switches back. So
I tell people in the morning, if you're going to hunt whitetails in Idaho, in the morning, hunt them high. Come in above. Let the thermal switch for you and give you a wind advantage, and hunt higher where bucks are elevating back to their beds. Cut them off between their bed and where they like to hang out in the nighttime.
See, that's why I asked that question. Just everybody has a little bit different take on thermals, and I think it's crucial. I think a lot of people that come from some of these flatter country areas, they come up to the west, they don't understand these thermals.
Well, they run into swirls.
Yeah,
and they don't know what to do with the swirl.
And
the great thing about our archery elk hunting, Jim, is we can move.
Yep.
But I promise you this: go ahead and try to kill a big whitetail on your feet with a bow and arrow year after year after year. All you're going to do is bust him. You're not going to sneak up on these big bucks very often.
Like hardly ever.
Maybe once in your lifetime.
I spend days and days and days, and I don't just sneak up and surprise a big buck.
And I'm talking archery close.
Yeah.
So that's just totally out the door. Yeah. I wanted to kill big whitetails in Idaho, and I knew years ago I had to get in a tree. And doesn't bother me a bit if some people, if they thought I was lazy, they'd have a hard time staying with me 1 week.
Well, it's not like you're just driving right up to a field and walking 100 yards and getting in a tree stand.
I cannot tell you how far we walk to make sure we get in correctly. The distance that I'm willing to walk in the snow, in the 0 degrees temperature sometimes, stay overnight, pack tree stands in. It's just a different ball game, but there is a ton of work to it.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're trying not to sweat. You're trying not to smell poorly. So Tyson and I, for example, will hike a mile or two, pack an extra set of underclothes in, strip down to our skivvy, spray down at 0 degree temperature, put clean on the last 400 yards into a stand.
Gotcha.
Like extreme stuff.
Makes a big difference for you, you think?
It's huge. That's how we killed his big. That's how we kill. I mean, we do that anytime we break a sweat.
Gotcha.
You break a sweat, you got to take care of it.
Yeah.
If you don't, you go set cold in your tree stand, and every deer in the area smells sweat instead of no sweat. And, you know, we all know once we perspire, the scent's different. Now, I do use Vanishing Hunter, but there's nothing on the market that'll completely eliminate all your scent molecules.
No, I agree.
Here's what I try to do with Vanishing Hunter, and it does work. Deer walk by us, 2 of us in a tree stand. If they ever get in downwind, and they do sometimes, that's part of it. Smart deer. Winds change on us in a tree stand during the day sometimes.
Yeah.
What we have seen over the last 2 decades, or I have in Ty the last decade, is we often come across to a deer, and the way they react to us is that we were there 2 or 3 days earlier. You know, think about this. Is a deer going to jump out of his skin every time he smells a coyote or a wolf or a mountain lion?
No.
Not unless the scent molecule concentration is at a level that is right next to him.
Yeah.
Let's say you walk through the woods. You walk 20 yards from a skunk. What kind of scent molecule concentration is there?
It's going to be pretty strong.
You're going to jump back as a human being and get away.
Yeah.
Let's say we walk through the woods and smell a skunk that was there 3 days ago.
Not going to be as
very light.
Yeah,
how do we react?
Just faint.
How do we react as a human?
Yeah.
No worries.
Must have been a skunk here a few days ago.
That's what we got bucks. That's what we got bucks doing with us.
And so that scent product you're using in
Vanishing Hunter.
Vanishing Hunter.
Yeah, buck fever.
I'm going to try some of that. I've never been a big scent control kind of guy. I just use a wind, so I want to try that.
Jim, it's a minimizer. It really works great with elk. Again,
does it? Even after, because I mean, I don't ever just sit for elk. I'm always walking.
Jim, I sweat all day for elk. I never sit for elk. We hunt like crazy on foot for elk. Obviously, you can move with the wind with elk.
Yeah.
But you get swirls. You get in those holes.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So
or a dark cloud comes over.
Had really good luck with even elk. Pick up, a cow pick up or something, and then go back to feed.
Ah, gotcha.
Versus just blowing out
busting
because
out because something's
and of course we're showering. We're extremely clean. Here's a tip: we don't ever put our clothes in a sealed tight bag in this country because it gets moisture in it. We hang everything outside the whole season. My hunting clothes still are hanging outside. Everything we do is on an aired out principle.
That's a good idea.
You can take a dirty dog bed, put it out on your porch in North Idaho for a week. It won't stink.
Yeah, I agree.
Ozone, rain, and just precipitation will clean it like you won't believe. It'll literally take the scent out of it.
How long should a guy hang his clothes? I know you said you do it all year, but I don't. So, but I have a cool clothesline. Now I just got an idea. Like if I take it out in like June.
Right. Ty and I hunt. Well, you're probably like you. The only time we're not hunting an animal is when we're shed hunting in January, February, March. April opens up, we're hunting those bears. They have great noses.
And you're bow hunting bear, right?
Always, yeah. Just bow hunting bears, and
that's hardcore.
And it's a blast. Now we can bait bears in Idaho, so we got a little bit of an advantage there. But still, the old bears act just like a whitetail buck.
Are you baiting them, or are you?
I am baiting archery bears. Yes. Gotcha.
But
the old bears that I like to kill, the 15-year-olds, the 10-year-olds, they're smarter than an old whitetail buck.
Oh yeah.
They've been baited their whole life. So how do I hunt them? Just like my deer, I use all the exact same principles with wind to get a big bear to come in thinking that bait's no human there, scent free. He just smells the bait. I'm not there that day, and I play those wind edges. That's a good word to remember.
Wind edge.
Wind edge with whitetails and bears.
Okay, give us your definition of what a wind edge is for our listeners.
The easiest way to explain it is conventional wisdom will tell you to always hunt with wind in your face. If you hunt with the wind in your face, that's what you're supposed to do as a hunter. Do you think a big whitetail buck or an old bull elk or an old bear that's been around 12, 15 years is going to walk in without a wind advantage?
Not typically.
Never.
Yeah.
Every big deer I've killed in the last 2 decades has always walked in with the wind at least at a 45 in his face. So what am I doing? Hunting off to the edge of what works for him, and he's not picking me up because of my location.
Gotcha.
I have a bluff behind me, like I said earlier, or I have a deep draw that he doesn't want to walk up that steep draw when he can walk down the ridge. I use terrain to force him through with the wind he wants, and I sneak in on the side, slip up in a tree, and I'm off to the edge of his wind. Even he thinks he's safe.
Yeah.
It's a green light for him. It's all clear. Same with these old bears. I never hunt with the wind in my face.
And you're still so.
Imagine.
Okay, my mind's going 100 different miles.
Hunters freak out when I tell them that.
Yeah.
You don't hunt with the wind in your face. No, because I'll never see the big buck I want to kill or the big bear I want to kill.
Yeah.
Because they're too old for that.
That's awesome. You guys, we need to get you guys back on at some point here. You got so much information. I feel like you do a seminar, a whitetail hunting seminar.
I do a boot camp.
A boot camp.
Yeah, I charge people $300.
Uh-huh.
You come out for the day. I show you everything I do.
And I
lay it all out.
You're going to reserve a spot for me, right?
Yeah, and I like small groups. I'm not doing it to make big money.
Yeah.
But I do feel like my information is worth a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
We do a light breakfast, and my wife makes a lunch for everybody. And we literally from 6 to 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever you guys want to do, I cover everything that I do, share it with you, and say, go do it.
Gotcha.
Go employ it.
Love it.
It's a lot of information.
I want a reserved spot there.
But like I said, I like small groups.
What time of year are you usually doing that?
I will do one that probably late spring, early summer.
Late spring, early summer.
And being a teacher, I might wait till right after I get out of school.
But
I want to take. I use my property out at my place.
Yeah.
That way I can take you out and actually show you real life application. Everything.
Okay.
From hanging the tree stands to building these scrapes, showing you how to build a community scrape, showing you how I hang my trail cameras, talking about how to enter and exit your stands, archery gear, all of my gear. I cover it all, and I really get into the biology of the whitetail. And I have hundreds and hundreds of videos of North Idaho, Eastern Washington, Montana bucks that you get to watch for real and see it for real, see what I'm talking about, and then see me kill them.
Gotcha.
Or Ty kill them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that'd be great. So where can we kind of follow along so people don't miss that, so they could sign up? Because you said it's a small group, pretty intimate group.
I don't think I would take more than 10 people at once. That way it can be. That way I'm a teacher. I don't want a big class. I want to be able to really work with guys. So yeah, maybe 10 or less people. My Facebook's loaded.
Okay.
It's packed. I think I got 12 spots left on Facebook, Troy Pottenger. But where you can follow me is at my Instagram, which is MTN_man, Mountain Man 33.
Mountain Man 33 on Instagram.
On Instagram, and I talk to people all over the country every day on that.
Okay.
And
awesome.
I will post it on my Facebook and my Instagram always when I'm ready to do it.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're gonna do that. I know we're coming up to 2.5 hours. I'm probably like we were talking. Yeah. This is awesome. I'm gonna split this into 2 episodes, I think.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know how to do that in my software, but I'll figure it out. You guys good with this kind of stuff? You know how to? You can help me out with it. Yeah. I need some software help. Okay. I'll figure it out.
Then Troy Pottenger's my YouTube if you guys want to watch. And I haven't even really made it public, but if you just do Troy Pottenger YouTube, you can start looking at some videos.
I'm going to put that in the show notes as well, your YouTube channel and the Mountain Man.
MTN_man.
Oops.
33.
33.
The Instagram's the place to get a hold of me easily.
Mountain Man.
MTN_man and then 33.
I don't know why I did that.
Boys.
Ops. Mountain.
Oh, it popped up.
Mountain Ops. What is Mountain Ops? That's something. That's that food, right?
It's supplements.
That's what I had in my mind there. Right. So
it's a supplement.
I'm hungry too.
That's what it is. Maybe I'm getting hungry.
It's a sup. Yeah, it's a sup.
No, I know Mountain. Yeah, Mountain Ops. So Mountain Man 33. I'll put all this on the show notes so people can check all this.
I can't see it.
It's on
Mountain _man 33.
Yeah, that's an easy way to get a hold of me.
Yeah, for sure. So, this has been great, guys. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
We appreciate you bringing us in, and I really appreciate you let the young guys come in because, like you said,
that's important.
This is that really important generational thing that we need to pass on.
We do. Absolutely. And every generation we're getting less and less. And so anything we can do to kind of at least sustain some numbers, and you guys are doing a great job. I think you guys are going to be leaders in the hunting community coming up. You guys are our next generation of leaders for sure. It was like an honor for me to have you guys here. You give me a lot of hope. Sometimes, it's not. Sometimes you start losing hope sometimes, and so I'm super proud to know you guys. Appreciate you coming
Thanks
on.
for having us.
And you guys, you're taking me bass fishing, man.
Oh yeah, we'll go this spring.
We're gonna figure it out.
Sure. Yeah.
So and get you on the podcast to talk about some bass fishing.
Oh yeah.
When does bass fishing really pick up hot and heavy in the spring?
I would say the first or second week of April.
Okay, so like maybe end of March. Let's get together.
Once we get some warming trends and the water gets back up, all the lakes are way down right now, but once we get some warm weather, some sunny days, longer days, they'll start moving up, and as soon as their metabolism kicks up, you can start catching them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. And do you have any sponsors you wanna just mention?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Long time sponsorship with Buck Fever Synthetics, which is buckfeverusa.com. I have a lot of guys in the Northwest and gals now using our scrape stuff.
Okay.
And they honestly will hear my seminars, hear all of this, and they put it out there, and I get texts all the time of, holy cow, Troy, this stuff really does work. Yeah, it does. You're basically taking on a whitetail with his biology, and you're using it against him. So buckfeverusa.com.
Okay.
And then Lone Wolf Custom Gear.
I'm gonna put I want to put all these in the show notes as well. Do you have any promo codes or anything that you use with these, or?
I don't right now, but I can probably get you some. The one thing I want to say about the Lone Wolf Custom Gear, Jim, Ty will attest to it. Our tree stands make no noise. They're extremely light. Bottom line, strongest built, lightest tree stands in the world.
I would hope so if you're putting them 30 feet in the dang.
Well, not just that, packing them 3 miles in.
Yeah.
And packing them 3 miles in.
Yeah. That's a heavy load. What do those things weigh? The ones
The lightest one I hunted out of this year is 7 pounds.
Oh shoot.
7.
That's awesome.
It's unbelievable.
It's
unbelievable.
I'm 260 pounds.
Yeah,
and they held me
350 pound rated.
Oh wow.
Jim, you got to look up Lone Wolf Custom Gear when you get a chance. The guys that Ty and I film for, Whitetail Addictions TV, is Lone Wolf Custom Gear's TV show.
All right, I'm gonna look that up, and I'm gonna put that on the show notes. Custom Gear, right?
Lone Wolf Custom Gear. You have to get all that in there, or you'll pull up Lone Wolf tree stands. You don't want that. It's a different company. So Lone Wolf Custom Gear. There you go.
There we go. Got it.
Ty and I are affiliated with the D'Acquisto family. Ty learned to film when he was how old, Ty? 9 years old. Ty went out to their film training when I first started filming for them on this show. There's Andre right there. That's the leader of the family, Andre D'Acquisto. Yeah. Anyway,
that's pretty sweet buck he's got right there.
Yeah, that's a 216-inch whitetail.
Jeez.
Now, they live in Iowa, and they tear it up in the great states. We're their Western guys.
You're their Western, representing the West.
And probably their main public land guys, too.
Yeah.
Now, they do some public out there, too, but we just have so much public land.
Yeah.
Anyway, all that to say, they're great dudes. And then
people.
Dart and Archery has taken care of me for years. So I'd love to give them a shout out. They have great bows. And then Nimrod Pack Systems. What am I leaving out, boys? The guys are. Oh, and then you got to let me throw my bikes out there. I am the Western distributor for Hardcore E-Cycles.
Hardcore E-Cycles?
Yes. And then one more when we're done, if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
Hoffman Boots, the best boots made.
Oh, man. We're going to get... Yeah, I like all...
Jim Hoffman's a great guy. Jess fishes tournaments with his son a little bit.
You're going to tell... I need to get him on the podcast.
Telling you, Jim Hoffman's a great dude.
Yeah, I'd love to get him on.
Jim would be great.
Send him a text message. Let him know. I'm hunting him down to get him on an episode because I love his boots.
Yep, and those are...
In fact, I'm due for a new pair, actually.
They're great boots. I got them on right now. I wear them all the time, just even out on the town.
Sweet.
The Explorers for elk. They're amazing, and for whitetail hunting.
The Explorers? You like those Explorers?
The Explorers are incredible for early season whitetails and elk. When it gets real cold in my whitetail stands, I wear the big packs.
Big packs. It's cold fishing.
Yeah,
gotcha.
And he wears those fishing.
Oh, you do? Okay, cool.
And Ty and I wear the same exact boots, the two different sets.
Do you get into one of those scenarios on the bass boat where you have to be careful how you walk on it so the bass don't hear you underneath?
Well, yeah, definitely. Like when you're fishing shallow water, you got to be careful, like not slamming the compartment shut. Or like when you're putting stuff down.
I
like
think
we'll
we're
turn
right.
our graphs off and everything when you're getting up shallow. You just got to be.
You just
kind of
sneak in on
Yeah,
them.
you got to.
Sweet.
Once they see the boat or know that you're there, it's
over.
100
That's
times
awesome.
harder to catch them. Yeah, they just swim off. But yeah.
Cool. I thought boots, bass boat, all that kind of stuff. So, Ty, you got any closing thoughts to tell everybody?
Not really. Just, I don't know. Get out in the woods, like he said.
Yeah, I like
Get
it.
out in the
Good
woods.
message.
Or on the lake.
Or on the lake.
Get
yeah.
on the water, get in the woods, and breathe fresh air.
Totally. How about you, Jess? You got any closing thoughts?
Just the same as Tyson. Get out and live. That we live in a beautiful place, and I'm like, even for everyone else in the nation, enjoy like what we're blessed with.
The resources.
Yeah.
Awesome. The resources. Yep.
And
I love it.
sorry, Jim.
Go ahead. No, that's fine.
Parents, spend time with your kids.
Yeah.
Lots of it, and make memories. Don't worry about
Okay.
material things. Make memories.
Love it. You guys, this was a pleasure. This has been a great episode.
Thanks for having us, Jim.
I'm going to make you guys come back on. I appreciate it.
We'd love to.
Love it.
Like I said, you pick these guys' brains.
I'm
without
going
me.
to.
Leave the old guy out sometimes.
Yeah, sounds good.
Talk fishing all day with you.
Ty and Jess can talk fishing with you all day.
I'd love to. Let's shoot for end of March for that.
stuff.
Let's do a good fishing episode. I haven't had any good fishing episodes yet, and yeah, that'd be awesome. So I appreciate it, guys. You guys coming on, and thanks you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. This has been. Well, I'm actually not going to say the episode number because I don't know how I'm going to split this up just yet. But thanks for downloading the Western Huntsman podcast. We will see you guys next week.